So today we're talking about the latest firmware for the DJI Fly app, the 1.8.0, and what it means for the Mini 3 Pro. So in the update notes, we see the added support for the Mavic 3 Classic, as well as the added ability to close the return to home prompt by selecting the C1 and the C2 button on the back of your controller. Now when this prompt appears, you can use either of the two buttons to select either of the two options shown, either cancel or confirm the return to home. So this update also brings Hyperlapse cruise control to the Mini 3, as well as a more advanced drone settings menu. So first, how can we take advantage of the new cruise control feature, and how does this make taking hyperlapses a lot easier? So whenever you do a hyperlapse and you move the sticks in a specific direction, whenever you select the cruise control, the stick placements you currently have will be locked in place, and you can now let go of the controller, and the drone will continue to fly using the same movement. So for instance, if you're doing a backwards pan hyperlapse or anything similar and you enable the hyperlapse cruise control, that means you can take your fingers off the controller and the drone will continue to do that move, which allows you to get more advanced hyperlapse shots without holding the controller for 5 to 6 minutes, and it will give you a smoother and more consistent movement. So right after the update of the latest firmware, you will need to go into the control settings to activate cruise control. To do this, you go to the settings tab, then control, and scroll down to button customization. For cruise control, you have two options to choose from. You can either assign the C1 button or the C2 button. Then select the control section and hyperlapse cruise control. Now we can go back out to the screen and select hyperlapse, change our settings like interval, length, and speed doesn't really matter since we're using the cruise control anyway, and also make sure to change the settings from auto to pro mode if you want more customization options. After adjusting your settings, you can tap on the red record button and then start your movement using the sticks. It's important that you tap on the record button first before you start your movement, otherwise cruise control won't work. Once you're happy with the movement, you enable Hyperlapse cruise control by pressing on the custom C button you assign the cruise control to. Then you'll see a prompt notification on your screen saying cruise control in use, and you can now let go of the sticks. On the bottom left corner, you will be able to see the flight parameters like height, distance, and speed. And to stop the Hyperlapse cruise control, you simply tap on the assigned button to the cruise control one more time, or you can stop the recording. Now moving over to the next added features, which is Gain and EXPO. This is now replacing the old advanced gimbal settings, so all the advanced settings of the Mini has now been combined into one section. Now if you're familiar with how the advanced gimbal settings worked, the new Gain and EXPO tuning is quite similar. So in this section, you can actually tune the response of the drone to make it more personalized and easier to fly. So when you fly your drone and you happen to have your fingers or thumb drift as you fly, you can actually adjust this to be less responsive, or if you want them to be more responsive. So let's take a quick look at the section of Gain and EXPO. So on the top we have the three different flight modes, Cine, Normal, and Sport. And here you can set the value for each flight mode. So you can set a really fast and responsive Sport mode and a really slow, less responsive and smoother drone in Cine mode. And keep the Normal as your main mode for tweaking the settings. Now the first setting is a max angular velocity, and this is where you set the speed of how fast the drone will rotate from left to right when you push the joystick all the way. So lowering this value, your drone will turn quite slow. And increasing the value, the drone will turn much quicker. The next one is Yaw Smoothness. This can really help you get smoother footage, and you can think of this as easy ease keyframes. So the higher the value, the smoother stop the drone rotation will be. So it will smoothen out and ease the stop of the rotation once you let go of the stick. Now lowering this to 0 and turning the drone to the side, once I let go of the stick, you can see a sudden hard stop to the rotation of the drone. So this is a really great feature if you're finding it hard to get a smooth stop on your drone footage. So by increasing the value of the yaw smoothness, you wash out that hard stop and make your turns a lot smoother. Now let's talk about the EXPO settings. The EXPO settings allow you to change how responsive the drone will be to the joysticks from the center point to as far as the joystick goes. So the first value, pitch and roll, this decides how far you need to push the stick before the drone starts to move. Now as an example here, by putting this to 0, the drone won't move until the stick gets closer to the edge. Now by placing this on the largest value, we can see on the graph that we get a larger vertical line, which means the drone will be super responsive with tiny stick moves. In this case, the drone will reach max speed very quickly just by moving the sticks a little bit to the side. Now as for the next one, which is up and down, it works exactly the same. The lower the value, the less responsive and longer time it will take before it reaches max speed, and the higher the value it takes, the faster it will reach max speed. So my recommendation is to play around with these settings to see what works best for you. Start with the pitch and roll, and once you're happy with these settings, then move over to the next one and then later tweak each as you go. Now if I should recommend something, it would be to put some time into getting the perfect settings for you. After all, this is a one-time adjustment which makes it more convenient on your next and all your future flights. But unfortunately, we're not able to adjust the EXPO settings in the Cine mode, but you can always adjust the parameters and make the normal mode your new Cine mode. Now moving over to the next section here, this is our gimbal settings. The first one is max control speed. This allows you to set the speed of the gimbal's tilt and how quickly the gimbal moves when you use the scroll wheel. So if we put this on the lowest value, you can see the gimbal moves really slowly. Now for aerial shots like this, having a slow gimbal speed will also make your shot more smooth and look better. So I recommend playing around with this to find the best suitable speed for your style of shooting. Now if you put this on the highest value, you can see how fast the gimbal is tilting compared to the lowest value. So the highest value is a no-go for me. I will always keep it between 1 and 20. Now moving over to the next, which is tilt smoothness, and this works exactly the same as yaw smoothness, which we covered a little bit earlier. The higher the value, the smoother your tilt stop will be. Now like I said, it's really important that you figure out how you want to fly your drone and then spend some time on putting down the parameters, change the different numbers and test it out, because like I said, it's a one-time adjustment. So once you have something that you're really satisfied with, then it's really easy to pick up the drone, go for a shoot, whether this is for your client or your next travel video, and then you have an easy way of going. You can just pick it up, launch it, and then all the settings are perfect for you and you will have a much better flying experience. Now, if you want to use the same settings as I do, I will leave them down in the description below so you can just grab the numbers from there. Now, let me know your experience with the Hyperlapse cruise control in the comments below. Do you find it useful or do you prefer the good old manual stick move? And as always, thanks for tuning in, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing for more videos and also give it a like if you enjoyed it. And until next time, take care and I will see you soon.